G'day and welcome to another episode of Kiwi Car Life. And if you want a simple back to basics sports car, well of course you go for a Mazda MX-5 or S2000 or Toyota GT86. They're all fantastic fun to drive, power going to the rear wheels with a 6-speed manual in the middle. But I mean, those cars, they've got air conditioning, they've got proper door handles, they even have 2 windscreen wipers. What if you want a literal go-kart for the road? A car that is just designed to be ultimate fun with absolutely no frills whatsoever. No air conditioning, no electric windows, the minimum amount to pass safety standards with an engine in the middle and drive to the rear. Well, your options are basically the Lotus Elise or its strange GM cousin, the Opel Speedster, or in some markets the Vauxhall VX220. Compared with the Elise with its sort of strange bubble headlights and weird little circles around the back, I think the Opel Speedster is actually a much better looking car. But when you come to stand next to one in person, my word, it is a tiny little car. The owner of this one has done quite a few modifications to it to really enhance the look with the ducktail spoiler on the back and all of the lip kit around the outside, and he runs a business which I think could actually be quite useful to people like myself and people who rebuild cars. It's called DriveHub, and basically if you've got a car that's deregistered and you want to get it back on the road, or you'd like to get any kind of custom bodywork done, or even just normal wire fitnesses and whatnot, he can do it all. Check out his company down in the description. The Elise came with either a naturally aspirated 2ZZ or a supercharged one. Webster, over 8,000 RPM, had a 6-speed manual. This, however, is rather different, of course, because it's an Opel or a Vauxhall. It's a GM product, so it has a 2.2 litre 4-cylinder engine. Larger displacement, but quite a bit less power. This only has 145 horsepower versus like the 180, 190 that the Elise would have come with, but it does have more torque. It's got 205 Newton meters. So this is definitely slightly more of a kind of grunty but less powerful engine. And of course, the forced induction version was turbocharged rather than supercharged in the Elise. This one is also paired up with a 5-speed manual rather than a 6-speed manual in the Elise, but drive still goes to the rear wheels. And as you'll see a bit later on, while it's not necessarily quite as powerful and doesn't rev anywhere near as high, it's certainly still more than enough, even in naturally aspirated form, to push this along at a certainly fun rate of knots. And now comes the fun part of watching me, a 6'1" individual, trying to get into that. I've been told that apparently you step over the enormous side rail here and then your feet, it's like getting into that E36 M3 race car. And now we're in. The interior is very Lotus in here. The gauges are exactly the same as what you find in the Elise. The indicators and wipers are the same as the Elise and they feel very average, but the steering wheel looks and feels absolutely fantastic. This is probably the smallest steering wheel I've ever seen in a car. To start the car, you turn the key on, but then it doesn't actually do anything. You have to clutch in and then push this button here on the dashboard, which is completely unlabeled. Over the other side here, you have your light buttons that just look like they're straight from like AliExpress, and then a very simple air conditioning system which does not actually feature air conditioning. It's literally just a fan with a temperature dial. You sit unbelievably close to your passenger in this car. You're brushing elbows like the entire time you're driving it. It's got wind-up windows. It's probably one of the first cars I've ever reviewed on the channel with wind-up windows. The transmission actually feels okay, kind of similar to a front-wheel drive car, but obviously there's cables going to the back, so it doesn't feel amazing. So, it is definitely not a car for features, and certainly not a car for comfort, but what it is for is having a hang of a lot of fun. So, let's go and take it for a drive and see how it goes. Driving the Opel Speedster. The interior has so little sound deadening in it. I think this is the first interior I've sat in where it's actually echoey in here, because it's like a bathroom. It's just all plastic and aluminium and nothing to absorb the sound. It just reflects around in here. But because it is very small, it is very light, and so 145 horsepower doesn't sound like a lot, but in this it goes pretty well. Whoa! That is the fastest 140 horsepower that I've ever experienced in my life. It's insane. It just comes on cam. Wow! That's crazy. crazy how fast it is. The engine doesn't sound like anything particularly special. It's probably the same engine you'd find in a Vauxhall Vectra, but my word, like, it's crazy how it comes on cam, eh? Only revs to 6 grand. Look, foot down at 2.5, not a lot happens, and then 3.5. Whoa! It's like it's got VTEC, and just look at the handling. Whoa! Oh my word, this is the most insane handling car I've ever driven. Oh, perfect heel toe. And of course, rear wheel drive. Oh yeah. Wow, it's quick. That's pretty impressive, man. I gotta say, I am shocked at how fast that is for a pretty bland 4-cylinder engine just sitting back there. This just goes to show, man, that making a car light makes it excellent. No power steering, so you know exactly what the front end is doing, nothing to get in the way of the driving experience. It doesn't have the most amazing tyres on it, but because it's so light, oh my word, it just whips. Turn out of here, on the power. On track, this thing would just be, whoa, absolutely blisteringly quick. Although admittedly, with no power steering, then you've got to kind of, you know, you've really got to haul the steering. And if this was an autocross course, we had to go, you know, one way and then the other way, it would be a little more challenging than a car available with power steering. Let's do one last pull here, eh? First gear, 6 grand, into second, bang, third, fourth. Oh man, it's good. This just makes me long to drive a Lotus Elise, because I can just imagine how, oh yeah, there we go, insanely good an Elise would be. Because really my only complaints, the engine is, I mean, it's got enough power to push it along because it's so light, you know, 140 horsepower is, if we're talking power to weight, you know, that's enough to push it along. It just doesn't sound very good, whereas a 2ZZ would be incredible. This has all the fantastic traits of the Elise, but with, in my mind, slightly better looks, and the owner was telling me that apparently this has ABS, where the Elise does not. We can test that out, see how well it stops on the AP Racing brakes. The answer is, well, I can smell them too. So there we are, the Opel Speedster. I must admit, when I found out it had a not particularly highly strung 2.2 litre engine out of a Vauxhall Vectra at the back, I was thinking, oh, it can't possibly be good, you know, it's going to be a pretty mediocre engine and probably won't be that fast. Well, gee, I've been proven wrong. And it just makes me wish that more manufacturers would just take a bit of weight out of their cars, because a Vauxhall Vectra with a 2.2 would be miserable, but this with the 2.2 is fantastic. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this look at a very, very interesting car, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.